the structure of Ghana's national security. Money mpanyinfo a da bia mode mani ehwɛ saa nsɛm yi ebie. Yɛn national security architecture no. Said the TSC as we speak. Bibi atochima wo ho ana.
Yes. Yeah, baby atochima na atochima so. I think yeah, national security architecture has been one of the best, over the years. But Nyeman Pia, structural and institutional architecture no, had been a lot of issues around centralization. So, centralizing the authority of the entire national security, including the National Security Council, the Ministry of National Security. The power and decisions are being handled by these institutions. The mechanism is over centralization of authority when it comes to national security. RegSec, DISEC, more into me and because of resource constraints, more resources. Even look at assembly and into helicopter pool. You get it in helicopter pool and cost and locate the various spot assemblies in car. Some and now forest in airport site accident scene. Then there should be a police helicopter, even fire service helicopter, or extra helicopter from the military. Protected the scene towards investigations and carrying of the remains or site one. There's a huge resource constraint and over centralization of authority. Into the regional and district security council, almost like autonomy. The almost take a decision on their own unless it comes from above to act. Into a slow and I say early warning signs very slow, especially a core rural security incident. You study a rural security incident. What happened is more like a rural security incident. Your way of responding to it very slow. Your slow response time across all the security agencies. Most often, you're more reactionary national security than preventative national security. You're reactive. We are very good at a reaction, but we're not good at most of the preventative things because some of these things could have been prevented if we are able to put in all the various safety measures in place beyond just the lay down protocol because things are really changing all over the world. And that also has to be politicization of security institutions. Instead, there are key leadership positions in intelligence and police are appointed by the president. By this time, democracy you should also go to parliament for parliamentary approval. Now, it to me, I am more neutral and holistic than picking and choosing your best. But one who is aligned with. If you want to say we are choosing politicians over national security intelligence individuals. Into IGP, military heads, national security coordinators, they are all politicians. We value the importance of security. Security is delicate and expensive. Until we study the main function of every government is to provide security. The economy, the environment are secondary. The primary is security. And what happened in Ghana? All politicians, ministers, former on the head of national security. DISEC, RegSec, they are all politicians. The willingness to operate in the neutral environment for national security, anyhow, you must politicize your position to ensure you stay in that power or that very position amount. If the perception of partisan bias and undermine public trust in intelligence and policing. And of course, and I think opposition parties and civil society, they've been accusing the political architecture and the security architecture as political surveillance. And share other political parties and individuals who are against the regime in power. You see, many threat several times on some of my policy advocacies on that. It doesn't speak well that if you really want to speak the truth, then you must align. You don't align, you have to keep quiet. And the acquire national security acquire more of political surveillance. So until in cyber security idea, I mean, the neutrality of it, it's quite slim. I may not be able to measure that, but if you look at the practical activities, I mean, you can determine, say, it's more like a political tool than more of a neutral national security. Then the other thing I can talk about also has been fragmented interagency coordination.
Mm-hmm.
So, make way your bones say all the various national security agencies within the architecture do their own things, and sometimes they try to determine who should do this and who should do that. The internal conflict, and the NIB, the police, the military, the immigration, and cyber security bodies, including the FICs, they are all part of the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
But OSHA, Adibachina, NIB, RSTOB, the same case in Subon say Yoko is also following. The same case Subon say FIC is following. The same case in cyber security is following. So you don't often see what exactly one is doing to achieve a particular outcome in terms of security and investigation.
So we can say there seems to be overlapping responsibilities of the agencies and as that are found under the architecture.
Oh yes. There's that overlapping, and it's quite more like a duplication of agencies as well, working while others miss critical information. So they miss critical information because there's a duplication of whatever is happening. Especially when it comes to issues of counterterrorism and cybersecurity. I mean, the duplication is huge. Ghana Police is almost cybersecurity. Counterterrorism unit. The military has its own counterterrorism unit. That's fine. The cybersecurity is always there. Then we have the FIC also doing something on cyber counterterrorism with the NPOs Nadia. Then you have the NIB also doing something on internal and external ones as well. But at the end of the day, they all want to achieve the similar thing. But the information is scattered among them. You see, into UFA report, annual report, we say, we can different thing. But at the end of the day, they all want to assume, say, all is well. So the fragmentation of information and the interagency coordination, I think we have to work around because population is growing. Crime is becoming sophisticated. I mean, now crime couple is becoming more online or more internet-based than even the physical ones. We have to grow as a country. Now, let me use this final one to also talk about the border and coastal security. The Ghana's border with Burkina Faso and Togo are quite porous, I must confess. I've tried to be at, I think, part of the borders around Togo, and the porosity is very high. It comes in with a lot of smuggling and planting of cells. In counterterrorism, you can't say cells. These are individuals that are planting to cause harm. And they can also support in the proliferation of weapons across the various regions to other countries to ensure some of these things or havoc could be caused. Then say sometimes police arrest of armed robbers now. You see the kind of weapons they hold. Sometimes their weapons are even higher than the AK-47 now. The Ghana Police Service, they call Akokon. Just that the police is trained as against the armed robber. That's the difference. So the experience will be there to counter. But the amount of Ghana Police Service are fire higher as compared to the armed robbers. But in any case, we shouldn't be seeing such weapons with armed robbers. It tells you how porous the system is and how proliferation is getting higher in the country. And then finally, within the same weaker border and coastal security, we have limited surveillance technology and the insufficient patrol because of resources now and now because of the recruitment into the security service has been more practical. We are having more criminal informants in the security services. More criminal informants in the security services because we recruit them based on affiliation.
Not based on their competencies.
Not based on competence, not based on merit. And they are aware. That is why the current regime, Minister of security, Mr. Kaka said, we have to restructure our architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So, because everything is going wayward. See, is politically based. That is why I heard say the pilots, experienced pilots had been changed. That's what people are saying. I can verify that. The pilots had been changed, and the new pilots will be selected based on more affiliation, as we see. And it could be true because now entering the police service, military, are based on what they term as protocol. Even during the ministerial appointment committee, I mean, Honorable Afriyama said, when you must give me some slot or protocol slots when you are appointed. So they know, and that breaks down a lot of things. It affects the entire architecture in terms of success, response, and at the same time outcomes. Because OSHA even arrest the Koswa.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who you know. It's about how well you are known. Easy. And these two things play a key role in getting yourself freed from the police service or any form of arrest.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in that way, a bit improve and tolerate infiltration. You see, you become more vulnerable because you are having informants who are to some extent once criminals, but because of politics, they've been put into the services. You see, at the end of the day, we are not solving problems. Let me say, we are not preventing, we are more reactive. And that has been the case. Look, human trafficking, child trafficking, we are still fighting it. And Ghana was the first country to ever sign the life of a child. So if our national security cannot even stop child trafficking, but we can only react towards its activities and actions, it tells you where we are as a country.
You speak of a year over centralization. Over a period, because and see when you look at the national security strategy, one of the pillars are, if you happen to have perused it, almost can say decentralization, or they have a decentralized framework. So on paper, we have a decentralized framework, but in practice, decentralization isn't working.
Oh yeah, I mean you can see it in all facets of our democracy, even under what we call local government or local governance. We have one of the perfect, or I don't want to say, I don't use the word perfect, one of the best decentralized architecture within our local governance system, and also including that of national security. You see, because Oshesenia and structure and certain cases, within the rural or district level, should be resolved amicably and even should be prevented. But district issues or national security issues become a national topic. Should even have Ghana Police Service issues statement. Communication of Ghana Police Service is centralized, over centralized. As we see in Western Regional, the memo or the press release should come from the national headquarters and not from the regional headquarters. And what happened at what's the name? Recent helicopter crash. Where was the main press when it comes to the military level? Not from the Ashanti
command. It was from the national command.
Yes, that release should have come from there. If really you understand decentralization. And then once that release has come up, then the centralized institution, which has to do with the Ministry of Defense, National Security, will also pick it up and offer or more detailed information around that. But I still send information about headquarters, which is national, and so more release, and they have to determine whether we should release the community information or not. And the details involved also is determined by them. Now, I mentioned there's rural security incidents are slow with response because I spoke about decentralization and resource allocation. Now, at the national level, or at the centralized level, there are resources there. But at the district level, there are no resources.
As I can't do anything. I could do it. It means an inquasier.
You will go to a police station in one of these rural areas or towns. You have only one rifle there, one rifle. You see, and the incident within that community, huge. The firepower is more than that of just a one rifle at the police station.
Ebi abeko area
So
bi galamsey for ho kuta pump action guns in AK-47 in the account.
yes, but Mumubakono, look at how they are even going there. Some of them with bulletproof, others without bulletproof. You see, Ghana, look at our roads. Ghana Police Service, they don't judge now various checkpoints. Majority, about 80% to 90% do not have bulletproofs on them. And what about if they are ambushed in the night? What happens? You see, centralization and affecting your national security. I've told you about the helicopter crash. Look at what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just look at the walk to the place and look at how we are able to gather ourselves to support the entire rural response course. Look at it. The regional minister of Ashanti region. Look at the dress he was in going to the accident scene. Look at the escort. And then look at the people involved. There were no resources. And they have to even pack the people in sacks. You see, pack them in sacks. And sometimes road accidents occur, which is also part of national security concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Road accidents occur here. Look at how we respond to it. Look at the Ghana Fire Service. Some of we do sometimes two to cry or they chat cars maybe. It must take the intervention of the locals and
So
and how we even meddle with investigation scenes or crime scenes or accident scenes. It tells you that we don't have the resources.
So from your submission, it's quite clear. Say a banner ho bambo enhyehyɛ ya kruchi agu nkrata so anka wo se didi dwuma ne dia enya de didi dwuma agro bi ne yedie
You guys are growing in AGD, but you do that level because of, you see, people are investing billions of Ghana cedis, billions of dollars and pounds and euros into national security, right? Pushing investment or annual investment, even national security more is less than 2 billion Ghana cedis. Less than 2 billion. Akoso was about 1.8 billion Ghana cedis. And even those allocations, not disbursements. You see, so there are times the allocations will come as 1.8 billion or 1.1 billion, but amount of local national security will be about just 50% or even less. Because that's what's available. And how do you beef up your national security with this amount annually? It's small. It's very, very small. We were promised to have helicopters for Ghana, but this time, Ghana police should be having helicopters. If you see, you should have the military on air. I mean, with that same scene, military or Ghana police service, and they have the helicopters flying and securing the accident scene. We don't have it. How can we look at young cameras around? They are still not enough. You see, Ghana police service and the allies, they don't have body cameras. And see, and I say Diagro, it looks like, I mean, the inadequacy is too much. I will say it to me, I address it.
And who's Zanzoni?
Obviously, look, so beyond the resources involved, I've spoken about the issue of politicization. We can't politicize our security. Look at what other countries are doing when it comes to security. It's a national unity. Security is a national unity.
And found one political party don't.
We don't have to unite only when people die, like what you've seen. I see it to be united to prevent and not to react. You see, unite. So national security, a delicate part of your democracy and as a country.
But have we seen it as such over a period? In fact, over the past 30 years, have we realized that it is a delicate portion, and as it's a delicate pillar within the democracy that we are practicing?
Yeah, I think but looks like Mutaka, the current with Ebu. That is why I propose a lot of reforms. You see, like now infrastructure and training modernization.
Mm-hmm.
You see, as we see, people are out of Ghana police, maybe they are trained 6 months, not about out.
Yeah.
Uncle training BM, uncle training until say be a officers courses. And I say, or like the nation unity, be a honor rapid response unity, FPU unity, general training. But there are people there on code training ever since of passing out.
Mm.
And now the modernization of crime, is always be an insecurity, always be the criminals are always ahead of the security.
Mm-hmm.
But you can meet them halfway, right? And if we don't modernize our training infrastructure, because even helicopter aircraft these are not modern helicopters. These are not modern helicopters. Even within the continent, most of the things we use are not modern. And idea only use upgrade, and they give us the unupgraded versions of it. And they use most of our attackers say you use Conco national security tools as a material.
Mm-hmm.
I agree on that. I think say for the current national security minister to observe say infrastructure and trade modernization important. It tells you say there are problems. I feel human resource reforms is one of them, and that had to come through review of recruitment,
Mm-hmm.
welfare and retention of improved professionalism. The welfare of the personnel very poor. Personnel welfare is very poor, and it's part of the human resource reform. And the review of recruitment, during recruitment, you have 8,000 to 13,000 people applying.
Mm-hmm.
They will be picked up. You see, and then the other issue has to be civilian oversight strengthening. You see, them because this is the time picking up national security heads, and I said that of the Ghana Police, the military immigration, they should go through parliament or appointment. We should be going now.
Share document FI national security. No, there is a portion. Let me quickly read that so that we can wrap up our conversation. So the architecture emphasizes the whole of government and the whole of society approach, incorporating partnerships with civil society organizations like yourselves, traditional authorities, religious groups, and media to promote national cohesion and awareness. Critical roles are civil society organizations. They play national security more. Religious leaders, traditional authorities, role or play over a period of time, have we seen, and I say a timmy Eddie and Yahoo, almost so emo bois when it comes to a year or my bambo and to your home?
Oh, yes. To some extent, yes. Personally, I was appointed by the previous government through the FIC to participate in the counterterrorism national risk assessment of Ghana for the non-profit organizations. I was the only CSO on it with other security personnel. I took up that exercise, and it was fruitful. I really enjoyed the entire exercise I took it up. So we supported the entire NRA on national risk assessment. Right. We've seen other policy analysts and security policy analysts within some CSOs. Currently, some of them are heading certain positions within even this current government. And see, they are supporting, but the implementation, the resource allocation for its implementation, they are a hard job. And see, there have been some legal institutional reforms. The 2020 bill, from BNI to NIB.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were civil society players involved in the process, right? Cyber Security Act 2020 and the National Cyber Security Policy and Strategy are also almost formulated here. All these players were involved in the process. Consultation. Ghana, I must confess, we are very good when it comes to consultations for a particular policy. And that's what I always call public reasoning. I mean, ensuring that public deliberation is involved. And but then the implementation, the new resource, and more public trust enter that anymore because you're telling me you document, but the implementation. You go back to the old school again. Sometimes we try to even write the new ones and we still go by using the old ones in implementation, all because of the resources in you. We should investment in security investment
Hmm.
because though we don't come from. You see, so you bear all the multi-stakeholder security engagement, private sector, academia, civil society, the media, and that of the religious organizations. But what happens after that? And depending on the questions that the most often you and you see in your cyber security authority, there are a lot of people speaking about cyber security and authority now. But the tools to do that. There's a time I was threatening in Ghana here. I have to speak to people after the country to investigate and find who did it because we don't have the structure here to determine.
Mm.
You see, and I was asked to pay a certain amount to get that information. But he knew you don't have the tools. Though you have trained, your personnel you train for cybersecurity one.
Mm-hmm.
Tools now somebody to counter some of these. So that's why you see that the FBI in the US will be able to fish out people in Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
but not cybersecurity able to fish them out themselves. Then you react. Look, sometimes I call run up. You change coffee baby saying the name of cyber crime. They are chewing baby with their laptops. They die. Then another time I put baby. They die. Are we preventing it? Or we are reacting towards it? This make I say, look, we have the best reforms being made.
Mm. But the implementation,
assessment, the implementation, the resource for the implementation. This is the time, for the Mahama to focus on investment into our national security, investment into the resources, investment into the personnel. You must invest in them. You invest into our courts because our courts are also part of the entire process.
Mm-hmm.
Court may home because cases in the bar a court.
Mm-hmm.
So we should invest in each of them. And to me, and I say yes, Ghana as a nation, the one of the national security architecture, it is not just the framework, but the resource allocation.